What's up, everybody? And today we're checking out the fighting preacher Logan Weston. This is part 2. If you haven't watched the first part, it'll be in the comments, or you can just go to my channel. It'll literally be the video that popped up yesterday. I'm really excited. The first half was really good. Obviously, The Fat Electrician is one of, if not the best storyteller on YouTube, in my opinion. And listen, I love me some stories. I just finished. I'm going to go on a tangent here. Some people like it when I go off rails a bit and some don't. I just finished a book. And hands up in the comments if you love reading books, specifically sci-fi fantasy. I just finished Malice by John Gwynne. Oh, absolute cinema. If you love like classic fantasy battle scenes. Anyway, I digress. Before we get started, check out Chug. 10% off, link down below for the best drinking vessel in the world. Get yourself a Chug. Pop it out right now if you've got one. Fill it up with a can of Morale. My business, but I can't talk tonight apparently. I'm not going to drink any Morale to switch me on because it is now 9:30 p.m. and I don't drink caffeine that late. But if you're in the UK, buy some Morale. We still have stock right now and we're selling out quick. Get yourself a Chug. 10% off, link down below. It is literally the best bit of kit you can get. It will seriously last you a lifetime if you look after it. It is sustainable materials, handmade here in the UK. You can take this metal part out, put it in your dishwasher, protecting your wood. Always protect your wood. Comes with a bag. Everyone loves a bag. And you get free customization. So get yourself a Chug right now. Link down below. Ships to America as well. All right. I've done enough talking. Whoa, don't start yet. Don't start yet. Yeah, I've just finished that book, like literally like 30 minutes ago. And has anyone else got like post-book depression? Luckily with this series, it's the first of four. Also, firstly, going on a complete tangent, look how beautiful this book is. Like what? Like what? Sorry. I literally finished it like 30 minutes ago. So I've got like that buzz in my head where I'm like, I need to get book 2. Got it over there ready to go. I love story. This is why I like The Fat Electrician so much. I genuinely think that because it's not that he's just telling stories that are interesting, because they are interesting. He's talking about individuals that are genuinely like iconic in history. It's his method of storytelling. And I'm not talking about when he goes off the rails like I do and he rambles and he kind of goes crazy. Not that stuff. It's the way he builds suspense and the way he, it's the rhythm to his stories that are just phenomenal. He should write a book. He should write a book. I wonder if he's into fantasy sci-fi or anything. I'll text him and ask him.
Got ambushed by surprise, proceeded to kill everybody that ambushed them, and Logan's men didn't have a single casualty in return.
So I'm like just catching up right now here to where we were. I think it was 11 seconds when we paused it yesterday. So I put it back like 10 seconds just to get us going, but I'm ready for this.
We're setting a tone right out of the gate. From here, they keep making their way east. They get into some more skirmishes. Eventually, new orders come down. They got new intel. The Chinese are attacking the Japanese at a place called Wallaboom. It's a village that's basically been commandeered by the Japanese. They're using it as an outpost. They've got a ton of supplies there. Perfect target for guerrilla warfare. They're already being attacked by the Chinese on one side, so if Merrill's Marauders can come up from the other side, they'll pinch them in a vice and crush everything.
Makes sense.
The INR platoon links back up with the rest of the main force. They make their way there. They're being super sneaky, secretive in the tall grass. The Japanese don't know they're there. They're getting a lay of the land. They're checking everything out. And there's this river right by Wallaboom, right next to the road that's going to be the same road the Japanese have to retreat through if the Chinese are able to break through their line.
Can we just go back and look at that? I said this in the previous video, I love looking at these like old maps from the wars. They're absolutely fantastic because you get a real depiction of what they would. It's like a snapshot in time of intel. It's what they would be looking at, boots on the ground. Now we've got drones in the sky. When I was in the Marines, it wasn't drones. It was sometimes you would have a bit of radar. You would have people telling you what's going on. You would have HQ talking to you through comms, which they would have had that here, maybe. But for the most part, like this is the type of stuff they'll be looking at. And that, to me, is such a fantastic, like, slice of military intel during the time that it was taken. Fantastic.
be the same road the Japanese have to retreat through if the Chinese are able to break through their line. So they get a roadblock set up, and this is the perfect fighting position because if the Japanese want to be able to rush them to engage, they're going to have to run through a river first. We literally have a moat. You couldn't ask for a better fighting position. There's just one flaw with it. The river has this big bend that gets really close to where the roadblock is set up, and if the Japanese can circle around them, cross the river there where it's safe, they'll be able to outflank them. So somebody's going to need to cross the river onto the enemy side and set up a fighting position to defend the flank. And that somebody is the INR platoon. So the INR platoon crosses the river into enemy territory. They get some high ground. They set up a defensive fighting position. And then everybody just kind of waits because now we have to wait for the Chinese to punch through the Japanese lines. And there's really no guarantee that that's going to happen. They got to figure out a way to make sure the Japanese end up retreating so that they can surprise them with this ambush. And the plan they come up with is Merrill's Marauders at this point in time has 14 Nisei, Japanese Americans that have volunteered to go on this mission too, and they are fluent in Japanese. So they start tapping into telephone lines and listening in on Japanese conversations, and through doing this, they find out that there's a massive ammo dump inside of Wallaboom.
What is that? We need air support, and we need it now. Rolling strike package Bravo on unknown target. I authenticate.
Freaking Warthog. Can you imagine if they had a Warthog back then? Can you imagine the carnage? Oh my god.
Send the Hawks, sir.
Okay, send the Hawks over to Killbox 1 Alpha. It's a danger zone within
Switch the
300
Hawks
feet.
to Killbox 1 Alpha, 300 feet, danger close.
They blow up the ammo depot. Oh shit moment for the Japanese. Now they don't have ammunition to keep fighting. They need to get the fuck out of here, so they go to retreat, and they retreat right into the Marauders. Marauders mow a bunch of them down, then they have to retreat from that and go back into the village, and then they start sending out different scouting elements trying to figure out what's going on because now they're sandwiched out of nowhere. Then they come up with a brilliant plan. We're gonna send a bunch of guys to go outflank the Marauders by crossing the river on this bend, and they send 90 Japanese soldiers out there to do that, but guess who's already there? The INR platoon. The INR platoon
literally fallen perfectly into place for them, didn't it?
catches them by surprise, mows a bunch of those guys down. They retreat again, and this time they come back with even more guys, but the INR platoon has one Nisei with them, and he can actually hear the Japanese officer yelling orders, so he's literally translating and telling Logan, here's what that guy's saying, they're gonna attack over here, and then they just...
This is what I was saying when we watched the Ukraine videos, how intel is literally the most important thing on a battlefield. The side that knows the most is gonna win. There's exceptions, obviously, if it's like one individual versus 1,000, obviously. But the person who has the most intel is most likely gonna win. This is their version of highly, like, very, very good intel that changes the battlefield drastically.
Readjust the machine guns and mow them down all over again. And this goes on for the next 5 hours straight, just farming the enemy for XP. It gets to the point that the INR platoon is surrounded on all three sides with the river to their back, and they're running low on ammunition, so Logan hops on the radio and explains the situation. So the main element of Charlie group gets some mortar guys and some machine gun guys over to that area of the river. They get set up on the opposite end of the river, and the mortars drop a bunch of smoke shells. Then they create a wall of fire, and they're ready with the machine guns. This gives the INR platoon the ability to retreat back across the river, get more ammo, and rejoin those guys, and they form a line there, preventing them from getting flanked.
Absolutely textbook. Like, literally couldn't have gone any better for him.
Remember, while all this is happening, the Chinese are still attacking and applying more pressure, forcing the Japanese to either stand their ground and fight them, or to turn and run into a wall of lead from the Marauders.
And we were slaughtering the hell out of them, you know. But they weren't backing down, let's put it that way.
Eventually, as I'm sure you can imagine, with two forces coming closer together, eventually the American forces and the Chinese forces meet because there's no Japanese forces left. When that happens, there's kind of a lull in the battle, like the Americans are like, hold on. These guys look different. They're wearing different clothes. Hang on a second. The Chinese, on the other hand, apparently did not realize that the Americans looked significantly different from the Japanese, and they opened fire. I couldn't find any documentation saying whether or not any of the Chinese guys got killed, just that a firefight did occur briefly, but then eventually they kind of figured out what was happening and everything was cool.
Fine. I'll say I'm sorry.
No, be sincere. Like this.
I'm sorry.
Regardless, they get it figured out. It's all good now. Wallaboom is officially ours. In the battle for Wallaboom, the Marauders unfortunately suffered 8 men killed in action and an additional 37 that were wounded. In return, however, the Marauders are credited with killing over 800 Japanese soldiers. And the Marauders are just getting started. They go on a guerrilla warfare rampage for like the next 5 months behind enemy lines. They travel over 1,000 miles on foot, kicking ass everywhere they go. But as I'm sure you can imagine, living in the jungle 24/7, doing everything via traveling on foot leads to a lot of people falling out from illness. You got guys getting malaria, dysentery, typhus, everybody.
If you're in the military, anyone have the same experience as me when they give you malaria tablets if you're going abroad? Them tablets gave me the weirdest fucking dreams. Everybody who took them was like having the weirdest dreams and like night terrors and all sorts of stuff. Like them tablets are horrendous, malaria tablets. You don't want to take that shit. They probably changed it now because whatever they were giving us back then was certainly horrendous.
Is running a fever to the point that it became standard operating procedure that you had to run a high fever for 3 days straight to even get medical attention for it. Don't get me wrong, they're still kicking ass, but I don't want to give you the wrong impression that it's all sunshine and suppressive fire. This still sucks. These guys are getting fatigued. Focusing back on
Sunshine
Preacher
and
and the Iron
suppressive
Platoon, though,
fire.
there's major battles they get into, but then there's also just going out on patrols and getting in skirmishes, which the INR platoon does a lot of because it's kind of their entire job. And they develop guerrilla warfare tactics that are just peak level fuckery. They would go into areas where they know the enemy is patrolling. They would set up a campsite with a campfire and even leave a mule there. And then they would drop back a little bit, find a position and set up the machine guns. And then once the Japanese launched their bonsai attack into their campsite, they'd mow them all down. On one occasion, the campsite they set up was so convincing that the Japanese decided to employ a double envelopment tactic, meaning they were going to come at them from both sides, except the INR platoon wasn't there and it was dark, so they literally attacked each other and they took out more of themselves than the INR platoon did.
Oh my God.
In another one of their major battles, the Marauders attack a place known as Napunga. During the opening stages of this fight, the Marauders wind up getting surrounded and they have no way out except one. Prior to the battle, Logan had identified a trail and recommended that he go out there and secure this trail. That way they had a way out if they did get surrounded, and now he is guarding that trail. He proceeds to get in a firefight with the INR platoon for 4 days straight, and ultimately winds up covering the withdrawal of the entire main Marauder force so they can regroup and then go take the objective later on.
Oh
David
my
Quaid, the official
God.
historian for the Merrill's Marauder Association, basically compared this to the Battle of Thermopylae and the 300 Spartans, saying, quote, "The holding action orchestrated by Lieutenant Weston and his INR platoon lasted for 4 days against 3 days at Thermopylae. Leonidas defended his own soil. Weston defended far behind enemy lines. Leonidas lost all of his men. Weston lost none. Athens was burned by Persia, and the 53 men of the INR platoon of the Orange Combat Team saved all of the regiment and the campaign."
Oh
Okay, I
my
cannot stress to you enough.
God. Oh my God. If you don't know about the Battle of Thermopylae, phenomenal. This is the story that like the movie 300 is based off. There's actually a really good historical fiction book called The Gates of Fire, I think it is, which, by the way, if you're in the military or love the military, is a 100% like mandatory read. That book, insanely good at showing firstly the battle, but also like what it's like to be a lad within a troop. Like, so good. Anyway, I digress.
How big of a badass Logan Weston is. Okay, I had to get an entirely different book that just covers the entire Merrill's Marauder movement and campaign as a whole. This book is about 3,000 men and the movements and combat actions of humongous military elements. And inside of this book, he is mentioned by name 14 times. He's not a general, he's not a colonel.
Wow.
He is a platoon leader, and he is mentioned 14 times by name. That is how pivotal of a role Logan Weston and the INR platoon played in the Merrill's Marauder campaign. Over the course of this campaign, remember, these guys are living in the jungle the entire time. There's no showers. They're just getting food dropped to them out of airplanes. Many of the original Marauders either fall in battle or they succumb to illness. Only 175 to 200 of the original Marauders actually make it all the way through the campaign. And Logan winds up getting medevaced during the final mission. For this mission, the Marauders need to go take out an airfield known as Machina. The problem, it is 400 miles away with the Cumon Mountains in between them. At times, the terrain these guys had to traverse was so
400 miles away? What? That's like ridiculous. 400 miles away.
Steep, they had to take their e-tools, those little shovels, and beat steps into the sides of mountains to be able to climb over it. Logan and the rest of the Marauders make it across these mountains. Once they get to the other side, Logan goes out on patrols, doing his thing with the INR platoon. That's his entire job. And during one of these patrols, he winds up getting blown up with a hand grenade. He gets medevaced. He's in the hospital for 2 weeks recovering. And while he's in the hospital, he gets word that McKenna had fallen to the Marauders, but there's still a ton of cleanup to do, which is his specialty, so he volunteers to go back out, which he does.
I could do this all day.
Oh, you thought he was done when I said he got medevac during the final mission. Nah. He goes back into combat for 6 more weeks, leading the INR platoon in patrols, cleaning out the area. After 6 weeks, he gets medevaced a second time, and the official thing written on his medical documentation is AOE, accumulation of everything. Like the medics took one look at this guy and said, "What's wrong with you?" "Oh shit, what isn't wrong with you?" Once he gets to the hospital, he is told that he has 6 months left to live and rushed back home to America. Okay,
Holy
spoiler
shit.
alert, obviously he survives.
Oh, I'm so happy! I'm so happy! This is the best day of my life!
The Marauder campaign ends shortly after this. Machinna was their last major battle. Under the leadership of Logan Weston, the INR platoon is officially credited with scouting 1,250 miles of jungle, participating in 18 battles. They suffered 4 men killed in action, 5 wounded, and in return, the battalion credited this singular platoon with killing 1,260 enemy soldiers.
Holy shit. Oh my
So Logan winds up
god.
getting medevac. They ship him back to America, and this journey takes weeks. And during the course of that journey, he is placed under the care of a doctor that's traveling with him and a bunch of other wounded soldiers. And that doctor is his buddy, Dr. James Hopkins. Once making it back to America, he remains under
He's got like plot armor, this guy, right? Like his doctor is Hopkins. Like he's like the main character. And he's got like the best doctor looking after him. Like he's got plot armor, right? That we can all agree on that at this point, right?
care of Dr. James Hopkins. Despite being only given 6 months to live, he makes a full recovery. Which, I mean, obviously, A, he's under the care of a Hopkins, which is basically American medical royalty, and B, it's Logan Weston, the fighting preacher. He's gonna do whatever he wants at this point. After getting discharged from the hospital, him and Dr. Hopkins get debriefed, and they're basically told, "Hey, here's the deal. We haven't told the American people an awful lot about what you guys were doing over in Burma. It's kind of hush-hush. Don't ever talk about this again, like for the rest of your life." Now, obviously, they're not the only ones getting debriefed. This is like one officer telling an auditorium of Merrill's Marauders this, and all the enlisted guys, for the most part, are like, "Okay, sounds good. I'm going back home to the farm." They all leave. James Hopkins and Logan Weston stay in the room, and they're like, "That's bullshit. I should be allowed to talk about my life experiences. I'm going to do it." They are then promptly taken to the office of another.
You have to remember as well, this is like before or just as Special Forces was happening. So the idea of like sneaky beaky missions where people weren't allowed to say stuff wasn't really a thing.
high-level commander where they get into an argument, and then they wind up getting basically placed on house arrest in a local hotel and held there until they figure out what to do with them. After a couple
Holy
of days of being
shit.
locked in this hotel room and having different conversations with the chain of command, they come to the agreement that, okay, here's the deal. You can talk about it, but you can only talk about the stuff that's already been put out in the newspapers and in the press. And they're like, okay, hear me out. I've been in the jungles of Burma. I have no idea what's been in the newspapers the past 3 years. So they go and get like 3 years worth of newspapers and press and bring it to the hotel room and tell them, read all you want. That's what you're allowed to talk about. If it's not in there, please don't talk about it. Logan and James agree to these terms, and they spend the next couple of days reading through all these newspaper articles and magazines and everything else. Okay, and if you were in the military, I know what you're thinking. This story is completely BS because there's no way the chain of command is going through all this effort to appease two random guys that
It's
aren't
true.
willing to follow
That's
orders.
true.
And you know what? You're probably right 99.9% of the time. We gotta realize this isn't two random guys. This is one random guy who happens to be friends with the heir to Johns Hopkins Hospital, probably the most famous medical institution in America. And if that guy gets thrown in Leavenworth because he wants to talk about his military experience overseas, it's going to be a PR nightmare. So I'm assuming that's why they got this much leeway. Anyways, they get all that sorted out. Then they get given 30 days of leave. James Hopkins is going to go back home to his family, and Logan Weston is kind of like, I don't really have any family to go home back to. My parents separated. I don't even know where they're living. My last home was my college, and I'm not really enrolled there, so I don't have anywhere to go. So James invites him to come with, and he goes and spends 30 days with the Hopkins family. family. After that,
Holy
he gets orders
shit.
to report to Fort Benning, Georgia to help with infantry school. While there, he writes a report on some recommendations on jungle warfare tactics and how to utilize them. This report gets read, immediately gets implemented, and he spends the rest of his military contract basically rewriting the book on jungle warfare and infantry tactics, as well as scouting tactics, and then teaching it to all the other instructors.
I'd love to know how much of that is still being taught today. Because I know, so if you're an officer in the Royal Marines Commandos, like part of your actual training to get your green lid and be an officer is you go to America and do jungle warfare. Like you actually go over to the US and do jungle warfare training. And it does make me wonder how much of the Royal Marine officers get taught the stuff that he's wrote in these books. Obviously, a lot of it would have been changed and adapted and improved on, but it's not that long ago. Excuse me. It's not that long ago. So surely some of it's the same.
After that, his active duty contract is up. He's free to go. He signs up for the inactive reserves and goes back to Bible school as a junior.
Back to school. Back to school.
Okay, just so we're on the same page, he's like 30 now, and he's going back to college as a junior, which by today's standards, not that big of a deal. However, it's been 5 years since he was in college, and it's been the longest 5 years that anybody has ever lived in their entire lives. And this isn't normal college. This is Bible school in Pennsylvania in like 1946, 1947. Okay, if you're not picking up what I'm putting down, he's showing up to class in a room full of what amounts to homeschooled Bible kids, and he's one of the most hardened combat veterans of all time. He doesn't really fit in. You know what I mean? What do you do with that? Little Timothy and Susan that have been sheltered their entire lives. I don't think violence is ever the answer. Huh, motherfucker, unless you want to be speaking Japanese, it's got to be the answer sometimes. So yeah, he doesn't make it very long going to class. He works out a deal with the college where they're going to allow him to complete his degree via correspondence, basically mailing the work back and forth, and he winds up taking a pastor's position at a church in a small coal mining town in Pennsylvania. So for about the next 3 years, he's finishing his degree via correspondence, and he's being the pastor to this small church. During this time period, the church finds out about his extensive combat experience, and they ask him to speak about it, and he just kind of goes up there, says the truth, everything that's going on, and there's this really pretty girl sitting in the front row, and midway through his speech, she leans over and whispers to somebody else, but he hears it. I hope we never invite this long-winded pastor here ever again.
I think she likes you.
So yeah, 3 months later, they wind up getting married. Then like a couple of weeks after they get married, he gets recalled into active duty.
This is what I mean about the fat electrician, or as we should now refer to him, the stacked electrician. This is why he's so good at storytelling. Like, he laid that up perfectly, didn't he?
He goes into Fort Meade. He's like, hey, here's the deal. I finished my pastorate degree. I want to become a pastor. Right now, I'm a lieutenant in the infantry. I want to switch over. I want to become a chaplain. To his surprise, he pretty much immediately gets denied, but he's stationed at Fort Meade now, and Fort Meade is like 20 miles away from Washington, D.C. So he literally just goes to the Pentagon and goes into the head chaplain of the entire U.S. Army's office and takes a meeting. He goes in and explains to the guy the situation, like, I got pulled out of Bible school so I could go fight in World War II. I was basically a chaplain for that entire 5 years, and I definitely was a chaplain when I was over in Burma because I was the only guy there doing that job. Why can't I be a chaplain? He then gets told, according to Army regulations, you're 1 year too old to become a chaplain, no exceptions under any circumstances, which is fucking insane, but that's what happens.
It really is.
He's pretty pissed off.
I hate stupid rules. Like, there's so many unnecessary rules in the military. If you've been in the military, you totally get it. You understand what I'm saying here. There are rules that make no sense and that are absolute bullshit, and yet they are still implemented and enforced today. And it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Been heartbroken about this, but there's nothing he can do about it. He winds up getting promoted to a captain in the infantry, which also is crazy that he's only a captain. It's literally second lieutenant, first lieutenant, captain. I feel like he should be ranking higher than that right now. But whatever. He ends up being an infantry captain at Fort Meade for the next 2 years. During this time, him and his new wife have their first kid. It's a son. They name him Merrill after Merrill's Marauders. Fast forward 9 months.
That's
kind of cool.
Merrill
is 9 months old. His wife is pregnant again, and Logan gets orders to prepare for overseas duty, and he is given the option of going to Europe or going to Japan. And Logan Weston, the fighting preacher, says, I want to go to Japan and basically see what's up with them now.
Hello, boys! I'm back!
So Logan packs up his shit, says goodbye to his pregnant wife and his 9-month son Merrill, and then gets...
To be fair, I couldn't imagine, like, leaving my wife if she was pregnant to go in the military. Like, luckily for me, Steph, when she was pregnant, like, this was way after I was in the military.
Shipped over to Japan for occupation duty. Once he gets there, he's kind of shocked at the lack of animosity the Japanese people have towards the Americans. And because of that, he realizes he doesn't have any animosity towards these people either. And he kind of enjoys his time in Japan.
Why would I have hard feelings? I'm still picking pieces of your ass out of my boot.
Fast forward 6 months, June 1950, they get word that North Korea is attacking South Korea and they need to pack up because they're headed to South Korea to help them out. And they're told, don't bother bringing all your personal stuff. You're not being stationed over there. You're just going over there real quick. You shouldn't be gone more than a week.
Oh my God. A week? Chapter 7, a week?
All right, so Logan...
That's also a very military thing for them to be like, yeah, you're just going to do this. Not a big deal. It ends up taking months and months. Very, very typical of the military.
Shows up in North Korea. He's like one of the first American military units there. If you don't know much about the Korean War, basically, if the North Koreans attacked, they shoved the South Koreans all the way down the peninsula to what's known as the Pusan Perimeter, and this is where Logan shows up. He gets there, it's all...
By the way, the Korean War has to be one of the most insane wars when it comes to like special forces and a bunch of other weird stuff going on. Like, I want to know more. I want to know way more about the Korean War. In fact, I'm going to look after this video at some books to learn more about it because it is a very like weird war, isn't it? So unique.
Assholes and elbows. Everybody's scrambling, trying to get shit done, trying to keep the Pusan Perimeter intact. He shows up. They're like, oh, infantry captain, you have experience? Okay, cool. Take control of this company, Alpha Company of the 27th Regiment of the 25th Infantry Division. Take these guys that you don't even know yet out to the road, set up a roadblock, and if the enemy shows up, defend it. Logan heads out to their AO. They're already loading up on the trucks, getting ready to go. Has a quick meeting with his platoon and squad leaders like, hey, I'm your new boss, I guess. Let's go. They go out to this road, they scout the area, they find a good piece of terrain to set up a defensive fighting position, and they just wait. And it doesn't take very long because within a matter of hours, thousands of North Korean soldiers are coming down the road. They are outnumbered 130 to 1. Seeing this, Logan's shitting his pants. He gets on the radio like, I need artillery right now. They come back. Artillery's not even set up yet. That's not an option. While this is going on, they're actively inside of a firefight. Logan realizes he needs to like strategically withdraw to a more tenable fighting position, and he's getting ready to do that. He's looking at maps. He's figuring out where he needs to move his men to give him a better chance at fighting this fight. And then 3 Russian-made T-34 tanks come barreling down the road, punch right through the block, right through the machine gun fire, and drive right past their position. Then, once they get far enough past, they stop, turn their turrets, and start firing on Logan Weston's position from the rear. Perfect, now we're surrounded.
Holy fuck. That's horrendous. 3 tanks push through and then turn around to flank and then just start hammering? And he's not even, this is the other thing as well, is not even with his marauders, is not even with his men. These are all unknowns. These are people he has no idea who they are. Like that makes a massive difference because when you get so integrated with your section, with your troop, you know exactly what people are good at. This guy over here is really good at doing this thing. This guy's really good at this thing. And so you can utilize them way quicker, way snappier. You know what to do. People automatically do a lot of stuff without you having to tell them what to do. I've seen this firsthand. So get put with a bunch of unknowns and then also get thrown into this shit sandwich. Mate.
And we can't get away. There's only one option left for the main character, the fighting preacher. He's going to say a little prayer about it and then proceed to do some gangster shit. He hops on the radio. I need a rocket launcher team up here now. Eventually, 3 anti-tank infantry guys come tearing up on a Jeep with bazookas. Remember, the fighting preacher's never going to ask a man to do something he wouldn't do himself, so he grabs those 3 guys and says, follow me. These tanks are about 300 yards away with nothing but rice paddies in between them. These rice paddies are like hip-deep mud, essentially. Logan takes his 3 bazooka guys, guides them towards the tanks. They traverse these rice paddies. They get within like 25 yards of these enemy tanks. While they're inside of this ditch right by these tanks, Logan instructs the rocket team. It's 3 guys, but they only got 1 launcher. Take out the lead tank, immobilize it, then immobilize the rear tank. That's going to trap the middle tank in the middle, and then we'll take it out. That's exactly what happens. They take out the tracks on the front tank, the tracks on the rear tank, immobilizing them, and then they take out the turret on the middle tank. Okay, problem now, the lead and rear tanks still have their turrets operational, and they start looking for wherever they just got hit from, so Logan instructs the men to start shooting out the periscopes on the tanks so they can't see them. While they're doing that, he reaches into his bag. He's got a couple of M1 anti-tank grenades that he starts firing at these tanks. And then suddenly...
Seriously, where's he getting this gear from?
Logan
Oh,
regains consciousness. The 3-man launcher team is dead, and he wakes up with the torso of one of them on top of him.
holy
Besides the ringing in his
shit.
ears and the guaranteed traumatic brain injury from the concussion wave, he's seemingly unscathed. Trying to think fast, thinking of where he can possibly hide to
It must be, and I said this in the previous video, I'm not religious in any way. It must feel too much of a coincidence at that point for it not to be a religious experience for someone. Like the stuff he's been through from this whole story, whether that be him nearly taking himself out at the very start, whether that be everything that happened in the jungle warfare, all the way through to this, the guy dancing and them two managing to get out in the jungles, like all this stuff. To him, it's just bolstering his faith. That's all that's doing.
not get shot by this tank again, and the best solution he could come up with was on top of it. Once he gets up there, the enemies open the hatch. I have no idea why. I can only assume they thought he had like a satchel charge or something that was going to blow up the tank, so they had to go up there to stop him. Regardless, they open the hatch. So he pulls out a frag grenade, throws it in the hatch, and then shuts the hatch.
That's a spicy meatball.
The other tank then opens their hatch and he shoots all of them one by one as they attempt to get out. At this point, Logan's super jacked up, but he's got to get back to his men, let them know the tanks are knocked out so they can get evacuated. So he starts heading back through these rice paddies. As he's traversing these rice paddies, again, he comes across a sump hole, which is full, so he doesn't really see it. It kind of blends in with everything else, but it's like a 5-foot deep sump hole full of human fertilizer, and he falls into it neck deep, literally in human shit. Just when he thought his day couldn't get any shittier, so he crawls out of this hole, makes his way back to his men. They're looking at him and smelling him like, what the fuck? And he's like, the tanks are gone. Let's get the fuck out of here.
Speaks like Zeus.
Smells like poops.
He gets his men evacuated back to a further fighting position, linking up with the rest of the regiment, and there they're able to hold the line for the Pusan perimeter. Logan then finally gets sent to a hospital because he got blown up by a fucking tank. For this battle, his platoon is credited with killing over 200 enemy soldiers. Logan Weston receives a Silver Star for taking out the tanks, and the battalion headquarters had this to say, quote, "The real significance of the heroic actions by Captain Weston and his men under inspired leadership must be viewed as probably averting disaster. The actions of Captain Weston and his
Averting disaster.
men truly turned a potentially tragic defeat into a significant victory, certainly contributing to stabilizing his sector." Then the newspaper.
Good lord. That's like iconic. And yet, doesn't he have like end up having like 3 of these Silver Stars or something insane?
Home find out about this, and of course they're gonna run with the story that a guy nicknamed the Fighting Preacher is taking out communist tanks, and they portray it like he did it with a bazooka, but that's not actually what happened.
Wow. I'm sure this guy's got a book wrote about him, right?
All right, so by like late July, Logan's patched up from the hospital. They send him out with his company on a foot patrol looking for the enemy. They walk around for days and days. They don't see shit. After that, it's time to, go back for some R&R. So they're ordered to fall back to a place called Masan that's supposed to be a safe area, pick up a defensive position, which is basically just like, you're in a safe area, be there to defend it, but nobody's coming. Chill out and relax. So that's what they're doing. They're basically camping, relaxing with the boys, hanging out. Despite the fact that everybody knows they're basically just on orders to rest, Logan's still trying to be the officer, be the perfect role model for his men. So every once in a while, he's grabbing the binoculars, he's looking around the terrain, making sure he doesn't see any enemies or anything too fishy. And then on the night of August 3rd, 1950, off in the distance, miles away, he sees people approaching. As they get closer, he gets a head count.
He can't catch a break, this guy, can he? Doesn't even have a home. Well, he does have a home to go to now, actually. Yes, he does. He has a wife and 2 kids.
There's 76 of these guys. As they get even closer, he kind of starts to get images of their uniforms. He's like, those are North Koreans. So he hops on the radio back to headquarters to report it. Nobody picks up the radio because it's nighttime and this is a safe area and everybody's already dicking off or sleeping. So Logan sends one of his guys as a runner. I've got a 76-man column of North Koreans headed right towards me. The runner comes back and basically is like, the commander said, those aren't North Koreans. They're probably South Koreans. This is a safe area. To which Logan gets back on the binoculars, looks again. They're even closer now. They're definitely North Koreans. He sends the runner back a second time with the same message. The runner gets back a second time and tells Logan, the commander says they're not North Koreans. To which Logan is like, go back a third time, tell the commander whoever's approaching is carrying World War II era Japanese rifles and bayonets. I know what they look like because I fought these guys before. And you know who carries Japanese rifles and bayonets in the Korean War? the North Koreans. So the runner
Holy
takes off
shit.
a third time, probably out of breath at this point. Meanwhile, these 76 guys
It mustn't have been that far, right? Surely not. This guy's done 3 trips there and back. The thing is, I also have experienced people who just don't really like have, how can you put it, awareness to threat no matter where you are. And for someone to be like, nah, I don't believe you. Like, you need to be taking every little bit of information as serious in the military, especially when you're in a place like that. It doesn't matter if it's in a place that they think is like safe. Doesn't matter.
are just getting closer and closer and closer. By the time the runner gets back, these guys are like approaching the hill that Logan and his men are posted up on, and the runner delivers the same message over again. The commander says that this is a safe area and that there's no way that those are North Koreans, they must be South Koreans, and you just don't know how to tell the difference.
Easily, Ocean. Ain't you, Mr. Khan?
Like, as soon as the runner tells this to Logan, the guys reach the base of the hill, they fan out, they start coming up the hill and opening fire on Logan and his men. Logan and his men start returning fire immediately. In between gunshots, Logan turns back to the runner, I'm paraphrasing here, but basically says, well, then go ask the commander why they're fucking attacking us then. The runner takes off for a fourth time, and then Logan promptly gets shot in the thigh. Logan
Holy
goes into main
shit.
character mode, somehow manages to stay on his feet, and is still returning fire against the enemy while a medic is applying a pressure bandage to his thigh, and then tells Logan, you're bleeding a lot, you need to go to an aid station, like now. As Logan receives this information, the North Koreans begin yelling Manzai, which means victory in Korean, and they charge up the hill. So Logan
Oh my God. The thing is, like, if you've got the adrenaline pumping, it doesn't matter if as long as you can stand, you're going to fire, you're going to shoot, you're going to fight. That's inevitable. I know, I understand some people be like, no, I don't know, not everyone can do that. If you're like, someone's coming towards you to attack you and you can still stand and hold your rifle, you're going to fight. You're going to fight. You're not just going to stick your head between your legs and kiss your ass goodbye. You are going to fight.
is actively bleeding out, he's participating in the firefight, and he's directing his men on how to conduct themselves inside this firefight. He realizes the situation is changing too fast, the boys need him, he's fucking staying. Logan gets his machine gunners repositioned, they repel this bayonet charge. During the firefight, he gets shot in the arm. By this point, he's losing so much blood, he's starting to get lightheaded. He realizes he does need to get to that aid station. He instructs one of his non-commissioned officers to hold these positions. He'll be right back. Logan then proceeds to take himself to the aid station, and it is like a NASCAR pit stop. He walks in the tent like, all right, pressure bandages and tourniquets, let's fucking go. He gets turned around and heads back up the hill. As he's headed there, he grabs a box of frag grenades that he can't carry because his arm's messed up, so he drags it with his good arm back up the hill. Once he gets back to his original foxhole, things are deteriorating. Hundreds of more enemy soldiers have shown up seemingly out of nowhere from his perspective, and now he basically has riflemen fighting men in close quarters combat, like with bayonets, trying to keep them off the machine gunners, while the machine gunners are mowing down the waves of guys that are trying to make their way up the hill. So Logan hops in on the action. Now he's defending the machine gunners too. He's throwing
Yeah, isn't it mental that this shit actually happened? Like, when you think about it, there's lads with bayonets trying to stab you to get to the machine gun. Like, this shit actually happened. It's almost bizarre because when you look at footage of Ukraine and stuff like that, it's always in a distance. It's through a camera. It's through a scope. Like, it's far away. Yes, you can do like CQB and stuff like that, but like, I don't know. There's something about the idea of attaching bayonets that is a bit like, I don't know. It's a bit weird, isn't it?
grenades down the hill. He's returning fire. When the charges actually make it close enough, he's bayoneting guys. At one point, he loses his trench knife inside some dude's rib cage. It's deteriorating fast. As all this is going on, Logan is still trying to pay attention to the overall big picture of this battlefield, and he sees that on the other end of this hill, up on the crest, an enemy machine gun team has made their way around the other side of the hill, gotten the high ground on them, and is setting up a machine gun to mow down him and his men. So Logan, by himself, grabs some grenades, makes his way there, and takes those guys out. As he takes their position, he sees that now there's an entire platoon of guys coming up the same route, launching a flanking maneuver that's also gonna wipe out him and his men. He doubles back to his guys, takes like 12 of them with him, and launches a counterattack against them to try to hold the position. During this counterattack, he gets shot in the chest, somehow manages to stay in the fight, and then wipes out this enemy platoon with his guys, re-gets his guys consolidated and set back up again, and by this point, they have completely wiped out the enemy enemy attacking force. By this
Holy
point,
shit.
Logan is like, I need a doctor so bad. And as he's thinking that to himself, a bunch of enemy trucks come pulling up in the distance. Logan looks over at the radio man. They start calling in mortar fire on these trucks. As the mortars get dialed in, they start hitting the trucks, and Logan is like, okay, you guys have this situation under control. I gotta go. Logan gets to the aid station, and his condition has deteriorated so much that he is beyond their level of care. They immediately transport him to an army surgical hospital outside of Busan, and he is beyond their level of care as well. They do what they can to stabilize him, and he gets shipped off to a hospital in Tokyo. Obviously, Logan
What an absolute shit show. What an absolute mess. How much of that could have been avoided if that initial officer that he was saying that the North Koreans are coming actually took his like word seriously? Like, how much of this could have been avoided? Probably quite a significant amount, to be honest with you. Not a huge amount, I'm sure, but quite a significant amount. This is why everything that you get told you need to take seriously.
because you can't kill this guy. While he's in the hospital, he finds out that his platoon is credited with killing 400 enemy soldiers and repelling an attack that almost certainly would have overrun regimental headquarters. And Logan individually was credited with killing 27 enemy soldiers, 6 of which with bayonet and 1 with a trench knife. For this, he was
Jesus Christ, that is absolutely brutal. This guy's going to be in therapy for the rest of his life.
written up to receive the Medal of Honor. However, the regimental commander, you know, the same one that was told 3 times we're getting attacked, and he's like, no, we're not. That guy stepped in and was concerned that a Medal of Honor investigation into his actions would make him look like a dumbass, because he is, so he decided to intentionally have it downgraded to a Distinguished Service Cross to save his own career. So
What an absolute piece of shit. What an absolute piece of shit.
Logan was not awarded the Medal of Honor, but he was awarded the next best thing, the Distinguished Service Cross. Don't you just love politics?
Yeah, seriously. The thing is, there's a lot of people like that that are just out for themselves, both in the military and out, and it fucking sucks.
From here, it's probably looking like Logan's going back home to America. He's got a long road to recovery ahead of him, and the policy at this point in time is if you are out of action for 60 days, you're sent back home to America, okay? Fast forward to day 59. Logan is still in the hospital, and he receives orders to report back to South Korea.
Fuck me, right?
So he shows back up to Busan in October of 1950 to his same unit, the Wolfhounds, the 27th Regiment of the 25th Infantry Division. He is not given command of his old platoon. Instead, he is promoted to major and made the Battalion Plans and Training Officer. Okay, a lot has changed in the Korean War since he's been gone for 2 months. Basically, when he left, they were pushed all the way down to the southern tip of the peninsula at the Busan perimeter. Since then, they've made the amphibious landing at Incheon behind enemy lines, and then UN forces and American forces have managed to push basically all the way back up to the 38th parallel. And this is right around the time where the goalposts get shifted from we're gonna fight to preserve South Korea to we're gonna try to take all of North Korea as well and just end the problem out of the gate. So basically, as soon as he gets back, it's basically like, hey, here, you're promoted, we're charging into North Korea. From here, they rapidly advance up the peninsula.
This is what I mean about being like such a bizarre war. Like the fact that the North Koreans, like they were like on the brink of winning. Then they got pushed back all the way to the brink of complete extinction. And then they kind of like even the playing field and then just called it a day. It's such a weird war.
And it's basically cleanup and guerrilla warfare. He actually writes in his memoirs how much nicer it is fighting in Korea than the Pacific. He's like, the weather's way better. They're not hiding in bushes. There's not much stuff for them to hide behind. They're just kind of like out in the open. When he was later interviewed about it, he said, and I quote, "The commies aren't nearly as good as the Japanese at guerrilla warfare fighting. They make their strikes, then they stand around and wait to get cut down." Within like a month, they've traveled all the way up to the peninsula, and him and the rest of his guys and the rest of the US forces in general are all at the Yalu River, basically the Chinese border. Okay, we all know what happens next. China gets involved. They attack with hundreds of thousands of men, catching us off guard, and then push the UN and American forces back down the peninsula. Logan's unit is ordered to
which is crazy considering not long before that, they were helping China out against the Japanese. It's so bizarre, that area, that whole like timeline, isn't it?
basically go down to Seoul and then on to Suwon, and they basically fight a tactical retreat all the way down the peninsula. They fight, then they retreat a little bit, they fight some more, retreat a little bit, fight some more, retreat a little bit, all the way down to Seoul and Suwon. The Chinese forces chase them all the way down the peninsula to Suwon, and outside of Suwon on February 7th, one of the platoons gets pinned down by an enemy stronghold up on a hill. And the commander of this company is this crazy guy by the name of Louis Millet, a World War II veteran veteran that had already led a bayonet charge previously because he heard a rumor that the communists were talking shit that Americans were scared to fight with bayonets. So Louis Millette orders the tanks off the road so they don't get hit with anti-tank fire, then grabs another platoon, joins it together with his platoon, and then proceeds to bayonet charge an enemy stronghold uphill into enemy machine gun fire and grenades. And Logan Weston, remember,
Good God, imagine just sitting thinking, all right, how are we going to do this? And your officer turns and looks you straight in the eyes and goes, attach bayonets. You're just like, fuck, like, what? Can you imagine? Boys, attach bayonets. Oh,
he's like the big picture guy. He's in charge of basically all the platoons and their bigger movements on the battlefield, and he's watching this unfold, and it becomes apparent to him that this bayonet charge is going very well because they make it to the top of the hill and start killing the enemies in their trenches. So Logan takes command of the tanks that had pulled off the road and orders them around the crest of the hill because he realizes the enemy's going to be forced to retreat. Louis Millette and his platoon kill over 100 guys, 30 of which with bayonet. The rest are forced to retreat down the hill and then run into tank fire directed by Logan. Okay, pause the story. Sidebar. All right, I've already done an entire video on Louis Millette. Awesome story. This dude's a tremendous
I don't think I've watched that. Maybe I should watch that.
badass. He winds up earning the Medal of Honor for this action. But when I was doing the research for this video, when I read that he had oversaw Louis Millette's bayonet charge, which is like extremely famous in military history, I threw the book down and I was like, there's no fucking way this guy has done this much shit. Nobody is this big of a main character. It's not possible. Okay, and it's not that I don't want to believe him, but extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and it's just he's done so much shit, it's starting to seem impossible. And that's by my standards, and my standards on what's impossible are well above the average person. So I dig into it thinking there's no fucking way, but it's okay. We can double check this super easy. So I pull up all my notes from my Louis Millette video years ago. Easiest thing I could look at, what unit was he in? Would they have been even in the same area at the same time? Sure enough, right there in my notes, Louis Millette, leader of the Wolfhounds, 25th Infantry Division, 27th Regiment, Easy Company. What did I say earlier?
Fuck me, right?
So he shows back up to Musan in October of 1950 to his same unit, the Wolfhounds, the 27th Regiment of the 25th Infantry Division. Okay, I don't understand. I don't understand how one dude does this much shit. He was at Guadalcanal. Granted, he wasn't there for the main fighting, but still, he was at Guadalcanal. He was at New Georgia. He became one of Merrill's marauders. He arguably saved the entire Korean War by preserving the Pusan perimeter. He then is at the Yalu River when the Chinese attack, and then he just super casually oversees the last bayonet charge in American history. Oh, but don't worry, it gets even crazier because you want to know how his 1 week little excursion ends? Oh, he gets hit with enemy sniper fire in the chest and the bullet gets stopped by the Bible in his breast pocket, and 2 days later he gets orders to rotate back home. If it's not divine intervention.
Yeah, so this is what I was saying. Like at this point, his faith must be so strong that it's unbreakable. Like he's like 100% it's real.
I don't know what it is. It's statistically not possible. The man is the main character. I don't know what else to say.
Green Beret. Where's my green
So
light?
from here, Logan Weston goes back home to America.
Someone commented on, I think it was either the last Fat Electrician video I made yesterday or a video prior to that, saying, you're not a Green Beret to me. I was like, mate, you want a bear? I'm not green, but I literally have an image on my thumbnail of me with my green light on.
Goes on leave for a little while. Then he gets orders to report to Fort Benning, doing some officer stuff. He's in charge of like an infantry regiment, whatever. And while he's there, he's like, you know, I'm in my 40s, but I'm sick of walking everywhere all the time. I want to become a paratrooper. So he goes, gets his jump wings, becomes airborne in his 40s. Okay, I need you to appreciate how truly insane this is. This man is 40 years old, and when you jump out of a plane for the Army on a static line jump, you're hitting the ground at like 18 miles an hour, okay? Airborne troops end up literally getting 1 to 2 inches shorter from the compression of their spine and hips over doing jumps. And he's doing this shit at 40. I'm 32, and when I watch my 3-year-old jump off the couch in my living room, I'm like, That seems like risky behavior. And he's out here jumping out of fucking planes. He finishes up his rotation at Fort Benning. Then he gets sent to the Pentagon doing like high-level officer shit, you know, admin stuff, policy, training tactics, yada, yada, yada. Hates it the entire time. While he's there, he hits 20 years in service and they're like, hey, you can either retire or take a new assignment. He's like, I'll take a new assignment. So he goes and becomes a battle group commander overseeing 3,000 men at the 82nd Airborne Division. He's there for 4 months and they're like, hey, did you want to become a Green Beret at the age of 46? And he's like, sure, why not? Which he manages to accomplish because obviously at this point, so he becomes a Green Beret. Then he gets put in charge of teaching all the other Green Berets anti-guerrilla counterinsurgency tactics. Then the Vietnam War pops off. He gets sent overseas for a year or two, and I quote, train Laotian fighters. Right. You know, because Laos and Cambodia definitely aren't the two neutral nations bordering Vietnam that Mac V. Sog was waging a shadow war in under the guise of training local militants.
Yeah. So he was doing more sneaky beaky stuff, basically. Good God, what a story. What a life story.
He finishes up his 9 months of being a training director, and then he has the option of like, okay, you can go back home now, or you can extend for 36 months and bring your family over here. He chooses to extend for 36 more months and bring his family over. Now, put yourself in his shoes. What do you do when you're bringing your family away from America over to Southeast Asia during the Vietnam War so you can train the locals? You got to make it up to him somehow, right? I mean, what do you do? What do you do with the kid? You buy him a dog, you buy him a pony. Well, you're in Asia now, so you buy your kids a pet monkey and you name it Spunky. Spunky the monkey, because that's the one thing this story was missing, apparently. Okay, I don't even know what's happening anymore. This story started in 1914 in a cabin in the woods in Pennsylvania, and now we're in Southeast Asia buying monkeys. Sorry, I'm getting sidetracked. Anyways, the family's living there for a while dad's doing whatever dad's doing.
Sneaky beaky stuff, that's what he's doing.
Can't take no pictures lying down there, Sonny.
Eventually, one of his kids winds up getting really sick. They can't get him the level of care that they need, so they fly him back home to Texas to Fort Sam Houston, one of the biggest medical systems in the U.S. military. He comes with, that's where he gets stationed, gets new orders, starts working there, while his kid gets treatment. Luckily, his daughter Sherry winds up recovering. He continues to work at Fort Sam Houston for the rest of his career when he retired in 1968 after 28 years in service.
Is that his medals? There's no way. There is no way. Are you for real? What the actual fuck?
After that, he goes on to become the coordinator of campus religious life at Texas A&M for 13 years before retiring from that job and retiring as a whole, and would eventually live happily ever after, passing away at the age of 89. And that is the story of Logan.
Look at his medals on his chest. What? What the actual fuck?
Weston, aka the Fighting Preacher. Thank you for watching. Best way to support the channel is go buy some merch, maybe drink some Echelon. Links for that's over at thefatelectrician.com. Quack bang out.
What a story! I'm still gobsmacked at the amount of medals
this
he
might be
had.
the craziest story I've ever done. It just keeps going and going and going. Like, the dude did so much stuff.
What an insane! Do you see that rack of medals? Holy shit. Is he the most decorated officer of all time? In the US military, that is? He's got to be, right? Like, there must have been hundreds there. That blows my mind. What an absolutely fantastic story by one of the best storytellers on YouTube, if not the best storyteller, in my opinion. I will leave a link down below to The Fat Electrician. If you're not already subscribed, I don't know what you're doing with your life because you're missing out on some really good content. So link down below to The Stacked Electrician. Check out Chug if you haven't already. And other than that, I'll see you in the next video. I love you all. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.